Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Put It in My Mouth. I am Lala, and with me, as always, is bestie extraordinaire, Judith.
Hiya.
Hi, babes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well.
I haven't seen you in a while.
Well, I mean, look.
Yeah.
My face is red, and if you have heard the Isabelle episode, I did get a Fraxel laser done. So
Fraxel laser.
Fraxel. So
lasers.
my face is a little swollen and a little red. It looks like I have a sunburn.
It looks like you got some dots on your face.
But you know what? Like, I didn't want to cancel. I'm like, fuck it.
No,
like, this is what we do as women. Like, we get shit done. Like, why not talk about it?
In 3 days, it's going to be like you're 18 again.
Right. That's what they said. He's like, you're going to have the skin of a 20-year-old. And I was like, I mean, that's pushing it.
Let's try 30.
Okay. Well, aren't we still in our 30s?
I mean,
Judith?
29.
Right. Just a little self-care, you know. In the last few days, I haven't seen you. I got lasered.
Mm-hmm. Is that self-care?
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought self-care was supposed to be like, relax.
I'm caring for my skin.
Okay.
I also got a mole removed because while they were in there, it was like,
where was the mole?
Why not?
Zemsky?
I mean, it was like on my neck. It wasn't anywhere exciting. I went on a date with a cologne guy. I call him cologne guy because he had so much cologne.
Oh, that you were like eating it?
Eating it, like I immediately felt nauseous when he walked into the room, and then his scent just wafted over the entire place, and I couldn't get away from it. And I'm like, do you not smell yourself?
And then you smell like that for like days,
I was
right?
tasting it.
Okay, so wait. Was it a good date?
No, he ruined it.
Okay, so
with
it
the way he
wasn't even
smelled.
like, oh, I'm going to smell this cologne for days and it's amazing because I'm in love.
No, because I remember my high school boyfriend wore Cool Water. And I still have an affinity for that scent. So it's not like I'm anti all cologne, but whatever he was wearing was just too much.
Do you think it would have been nice in smaller doses?
I don't mind scents in smaller doses as long as the scents appeal to me, and this scent did not appeal to me.
It was not appealing.
It was not appealing to me.
I'm sorry.
But also,
okay,
that date aside, I got sniffed.
Does that mean something I don't know? I'm an old married lady.
Smells,
all the kids are sniffing each other.
Okay, so this is what happened.
Okay.
I went on several dates.
Oh my God.
So I went on this date with this other guy, not the clone guy.
Okay.
And so, we're talking, we're bantering, whatever. We're on like first glass of wine and appetizer, and he excuses himself to go to the bathroom. And he comes back, and I can feel someone behind me. I didn't know if it was like a waiter or what. And I thought maybe someone had dropped something because I could feel the person kind of like drop down. And then I realized that the guy sort of like got up behind me and came up behind me and he like sniffed.
Wait, how low?
I'm sitting in a chair at a restaurant at a table, and he got his like nose in my hair, and he legit. I was like, oh my God, the guy just sniffed me. But that's not the worst part.
Okay, wait, it gets worse.
First of all, I've never been so blatantly sniffed in my life.
I mean, in public.
In public. Like, who does that if that's your king? I'm not going to king shame. So then he comes around and you know how some people sort of sit down and scoot into the table? He was still standing up. And you could tell that he was very turned on by sniffing.
Oh.
The man had an erection. Oh. And I think he wanted me to notice. Because I was like eyes to dick.
Oh,
right?
In a bad way.
In a restaurant.
Again
not in
today.
The greatest way. Oh, right. Because our producer also saw dick today, Candice.
Yeah.
Who's just staring at us with
on her morning walk with the dog. It was like coffee and a dick in the face.
Apparently, you said that makes you a real New Yorker.
Well, yeah.
Once you've seen a nice flaccid dick early in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't had a man reveal his penis to you on the street randomly, like, who even are you?
I guess you're not a New Yorker.
This is the greatest city on earth, God damn it.
Although I do remember you telling me that you're not a real New Yorker until you've had sex in a yellow cab, which you apparently did.
Did I say that? That sounds like a really obnoxious thing for me to say. You're not a real New Yorker until you've done something terribly embarrassing, like fuck in the backseat of a cab.
Look, I've known you for 25 years. You were proud of it then when you told me.
I was so proud. Maybe that makes you a real New Yorker, saying something real annoying like that. I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
Well, regardless.
Irregardless.
That's not a word, but
Okay.
yes. Candace saw dick this morning. I had a man sniff me and then get an erection at a restaurant. And again, the date wasn't successful. So
And it's only Tuesday.
right? I'm just like, my face is swollen. I saw dick and got nauseous from cologne. I am getting myself off the apps. Anyway, we should probably bring on our guest.
Maybe.
All right. So today we have a really unique talent on the show, Judith.
Ooh.
Yeah. She's a master of many. Oh, yeah. A master Cicerone. I hope I'm saying that right. A master taster. Get your mind out of the gutter. A beer brewing gold medalist. And a writer who has written for Wine Enthusiast, Food and Wine, Vice. She's also the author of the book, How to Taste.
How to taste.
Give it up for Mandy Naglich.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
The silent clap. Hi.
Podcast clap.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So you just were really fucking fancy and you just did what? You just did an interview where?
Yeah, I just came from NBC New York. Well, they were on site with us at a pizza restaurant.
How does it feel to be slumming it with me and Judith?
How's your paper cup full of
It's refreshing. It's what I
room
need.
temp water?
No, we were pairing pizza and wine, so nothing too fancy, you know.
Oh,
I'm
but
all about tasting.
they gave
down
you
with the
pizza?
people. Oh, yeah.
Candace, quick, order pizza.
4 pizzas.
Hurry up.
4 pizzas.
Quick, order 5 pizzas. Quick.
We can beat NBC. NBC who?
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's
I'm
so fun
sorry you had to
be here.
listen to all the dick talk.
I mean, the R train. You're going to see a dick on
Wait,
the R
okay,
train
so
at
let's
Whitehall,
ask
so.
you, how long have you lived in New York?
It'll be 9 years in the new year.
Has
so.
anyone flashed their penis at you?
Oh yeah, the Whitehall stop, the R.
Okay.
You see plenty of penises.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Welcome to New York. You
Just gotta look at your shoes.
Have you had sex in a yellow cab?
That no.
Oh,
I mean,
well, then I don't know.
well.
Judith gets to
so
decide.
yeah, it doesn't count yet. I heard you get a bonus year if you stayed over COVID, like so it kind of counts that I've been here for 10. That's just what I hear. I don't know.
Judith, you've been
I
here
thought
for how
you
many
took
years?
Away, I thought you took away a year if it was COVID, because COVID was like,
Because we like stuck through it though.
Yeah, we didn't leave.
Yeah.
I mean that's when I came. But
interesting.
you've been here for how many years?
20 years.
Okay, bitch.
Yeah,
You're
you
a New Yorker.
Yeah, with the cab and the 20 years, I think.
I win. I'm the winner.
All right, 9. That's legit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you were born in Texas. You were raised in Philly. You then, this is just a little backstory. You returned to Texas for college where you studied journalism. And then you sort of picked up home brewing as a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I read this in your book. You said that you sort of came into tasting through the side door, literally and figuratively. Tell me about that.
Yeah, definitely. I started, like you said, home brewing, and the first time I ever entered a homebrew competition was the New York Regional, and I won. So that
Holy shit.
gets
Okay,
you
stop.
to nationals.
Okay, hold on. How did you? Let's back up because that's a lot to tell.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I'm like, that's so many years ago, but yeah, you're right.
But how did you even how did your love affair or your rendezvous with beer begin? How were you like, I like beer?
Yeah, so I grew up like in Philly, and it's always been a big deal in Philly, the craft beer scene. Like some of the original kind of now big breweries, like Victory and Trogs, were like some of the first craft beers bringing in like Belgian brewing. My family was into it, and I think growing up in Philly, it's much more of a beer city than it is wine or anything else. And I was like really into baking in college and kind of trying to recreate things at restaurants at home because I couldn't afford them. And I was like, well, I'm recreating all this other stuff. Saw a homebrew kit and was like, I can make my own beer. couldn't I?
Cool. That's
And then I got like
fun.
obsessed. I wanted everyone to not be able to tell the difference between the beers we buy and what I was brewing, which is hard.
Yeah. So you got so good at that you're like, or confident at least, you're like, fuck it, I'm going to enter this competition.
Yeah, basically, it was right when I had moved up here, and people who I didn't know well were telling me, like, you should enter this. You're really good. Because, your friends from college, they're always going to be like, oh, this is free beer. It's amazing. It's the best beer I've ever tasted.
Free beer is always the tastiest beer.
But then, so I was like, well, I was close enough. In Texas, I would have had to, like, mail in my entries and stuff. But up here, you could just walk to, like, one of the breweries in Brooklyn to drop it off for the regional competition. So I was like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah,
$20
totally.
and, like, a little walk. We'll try it.
Okay.
And then the Saison got gold in the region, like the first place in the regional.
I mean, what? First competition you ever entered. How
Yeah.
many entries were there?
In New York, I think there's only like 300 or 400. It's not There's like a bunch of little regionals.
But you won out of that?
Yeah.
And weren't you like the first woman to ever, or like the only woman to win that year or something?
Yeah, so when I went on to nationals, I was the only woman to get a gold at nationals.
What the
in
fuck?
Baltimore.
Okay, wait. So
Spoiler alert.
Okay. So New York was like 300 or 400 entries.
Yeah.
You won that. That then took you to nationals.
Right, which is
that was
3,000-ish.
not big.
Yeah.
And you won that
Yeah.
gold medal.
Gold medal. And that's why, so I snuck into the side door because I was so new. I didn't know you had to like buy a ticket to the award ceremony. But I was like, I'm not going to stand outside of this door and like not see.
And how did they not make sure that you had a ticket?
Right?
Also, like
Well,
knowing
I guess,
that,
if there are 400 people.
Yeah, it was like this huge dinner. I think they sell out. But yeah, so I kind of snuck in and I just like sat at this table. And these guys were trying to offer me beer. And I was young and I was like nervous that I was sneaking in. I was like, no, I like didn't
If
pay.
I drink this beer, they'll know that I'm not supposed to be here. And then you won the whole thing.
Well, so then they announced like third place, and I was like, I thought if I was going to get anything, I'd get third.
Right.
And when I didn't, I kind of like turned to them. I was like, oh yeah, whatever. Started talking again, and then I heard my name, and I was like, wait, I think they said my name, and they said it again. They're like Mandy Naglich, and so I like stood up, and I was like, oh, that's me. Like
you fucking
And
won.
I was like, thank God I snuck in the side door.
Yes.
But yeah.
What year was that?
2016.
Oh my God.
So yeah, and that from there, because I was kind of this random person, I wasn't in a homebrew competition. Like no one had heard of me. They're like, who the heck is this person?
You can curse. You can say hell.
So that's when I started writing the Vine Pair homebrewing column, and that's when the Cicerone organization reached out to me about that they thought I should try to get my certification.
What's a Cicerone?
Yeah, tell us.
It's kind of, we explain it as like the sommelier of the beer world.
Okay.
But it's a little different because service with beer is so different. You have to like know how to balance kegs and like do all of that. Whereas like serving wine is just like pouring wine typically. So.
It seems like such a male-dominated industry. Did you feel different being a woman in that industry, or were you accepted, or what?
Yeah, I mean, I think both men, there's always people who are going to like doubt you when you kind of come out of nowhere. And like, I didn't have a professional brewing background. So there's definitely that. But yeah, there's not a lot of women around in the beer industry. Something I think is interesting as far as going for that certification, which is pretty intense, just like getting your SOM. I see a lot more women there because we have this thing as women that we feel like we need the credentials to be like, I'm worth it and I can prove myself. And I feel like so many more women are like, oh, I'm going to go get the certification to show everyone I'm worthy.
Now the world knows that I'm worthy.
I have the piece
Where
of
a man
paper.
will just
look
walk
at it,
in
right?
and be like,
of
it's
course
framed.
I belong here.
yeah, I could do that.
Look
like,
look at my deck.
Right?
Circle
No,
it back.
really, look.
Circle it back.
Call
No, actually, please look at it.
Exactly. So it's like in some areas there's not there's fewer women than you'd like to see, and then in these certification and kind of education regions there's actually a lot more women than maybe there even should be. And men need to go get their certificates.
Yeah,
so
I want to see your papers.
Right? Show me. Is it framed? But you have a lot of certifications, right?
Yes.
You're like, tell us.
I started collecting them.
Yeah,
right?
tell us all of your certifications. I love this.
Yeah, so when I was going, I got my advanced Cicerone. I was one of the first 100 in the country to do that. And I was like, I think I want to go for Master Cicerone, which at the time there were only 16, I believe. But in order to get Master Cicerone, you kind of have to get certified in service, like all those like keg certified. And then you get flavor certified, which is tasting all of these different compounds that show up in beer. And I got like after that certification with Araxa to get beer taster certified, I really got obsessed with flavor science. And it was almost hard for me to continue studying beer because I was so interested in like, so these molecules hit this part of my brain and that's what's saying to my brain, like, this tastes like apple. And like, I think that's amazing. And
That's
like,
so cool.
those same chemicals are what makes wine taste like apples, what makes apples taste like apples, everything. It's the same exact chemicals. And so that kind of took like a left turn and spread out from beer and got my certified cider professional, my W set in spirits. I have like a cheese tasting certification.
Ooh, we love cheese.
The Academy of
I like
Cheese in
that one.
London is amazing. Yeah, highly recommend. Field trip.
Oh my,
Let's
yeah.
go.
I would love to be certified in cheese, please. That would be like my proudest certification. Screw everything else.
So yeah, I love, like I said, love to collect a certificate, it seems like. So
Shit, girl, you're a master of everything. So wait, so when you're becoming a taster and you're learning a lot, which is like science based, clearly you're talking about compounds and all this stuff, but like a lot of it is just connected to your olfactory system and I mean, obviously you talk about this in your book, but like just connecting it all together. I love how you say in your book, this is a guide for transforming a person who eats into a person who tastes. And I think that's like a really beautiful sentiment, because sometimes we just eat to eat instead of like for the pleasure of it, or just like drink something in front of us and forget to savor it, you know? So I don't know, talk a little bit about like sort of how that kind of comes together.
Yeah, I think something that the reason I wanted to write the book and the more I was studying is we spend so much, we'll quote unquote taste like a fine wine or like a really expensive scotch or something. We reserve this idea of tasting for things that we think are really high end.
Yeah, or expensive.
Right.
That's
but
really true.
It shouldn't be that way, especially studying beer. I think kind of, the kind of lowest common denominator alcoholic drink, if you're, the cheapest section of the menu for the most part.
Sure.
Right? You can really appreciate things that don't have to cost a lot, that are part of your everyday life. And once you start tasting and thinking about flavor, it kind of opens your brain up to making all these different connections and new memories and really making your mind stronger, which was what was the most exciting part to me and like why I really wanted to write the book. The more I studied and the more interesting people I talked to in the kind of industry of taste and senses.
So that's how the book came about. You kind of wrote it during COVID, right?
Yeah, the book kind of came about because I was teaching a lot of classes. I was doing blind tasting trainings and like
That's so fun. I've always wanted to be that person on Top Chef. You know, when they put all the foods and you did like have a little thing in there, and they blindfold you. And I'm always wondered if I would be good at it. It's like somebody
There's
puts
only one way to find out, sweetie.
I know we should do it, but like
Bring out the
somebody
blindfold.
puts like mango in your mouth and they're like broccoli, and you're like, what? Like I would what? How does
Yeah.
It's crazy when you don't have sight. Like what happens,
Right.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that.
Wait,
Judith,
that was
someday.
my favorite science project when I was a little kid. I made all the same flavored Jell-O, but I dyed them different colors, and people tasted the colors.
No, exactly. And like you can just dye plain yogurt pink and tell someone it's strawberry and be like, will you rate the strawberry flavor from 0 to 5? And they'll be like 4.
17.
Yeah, and there's no strawberry compounds whatsoever. It's
That's
literally
crazy.
And our eyes are playing tricks on us.
Well, also in your book, that thing which I thought was fucking hilarious, where they tricked the Psalms, right?
Yeah.
They dyed white wine red with food coloring, and the Psalms are like, oh yeah, we're totally tasting red wine, and then it's like, wait,
But you're not.
and also like you're a sommelier, like, huh?
Well, and so a lot of people take that study and they're like, Psalms are bullshit. Like, I hate this, or I hate like wine tasting. It's all for pretentious people. But really in that study, they were kind of questioning it. They were seeing the red wine. They gave it a little bit lower rating on a lot of red wine characteristics, but they just like couldn't get past the visual cue.
I'm
They're like,
sure
I'm
it fucks
tasting
with
Well,
your
red
isn't
wine.
the first thing you do
Yeah.
is you look at it?
Yes.
Right. And so you're like automatically saying, oh, I'm in
Right.
the red grid. I'm not in white. So you can kind of see on their scores that they knew something was going on, but our visual like cue is just so powerful
strong, yeah.
that we can't get past it. And I talked to Rick Bayless in the book, and he has everyone, whether you're a server, barback, when you're coming into his restaurant, taste a red wine and a white wine in black glasses or with your eyes closed. And just to show you, like, you don't know what you're tasting without your vision. Because even like people who work, beverage directors, it's really hard to do that with your eyes closed or in a black glass. And he wants you to know, like, always stop and think about flavor, because sometimes you see a white wine,
You use
tastes like a
all
white
of your
wine.
senses.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
That is so cool. And you talk a lot. The other part, this book was fascinating, absolutely fascinating for me as a lover of food, but just going into all of the other stuff. Obviously when you're a somm, it's about terroir and naming varietals and things like that. But beer is more science-based. And then you go into all of the compound type stuff. Like, talk to us a little bit about that. I love the one how you said, like, some people don't have the gene that can taste, like, they don't notice the sweaty sock thing or, like, the mustiness.
Yeah, androstenone. That's
Okay.
delicious.
Okay.
compound.
Tell us.
But yeah, so that's like the smell of sweat when you're kind of stressed out or when you're like really pushing
What's it called?
yourself athletically. Androstenone.
Androstenone.
It kind of sounds like sexy. But
Yeah,
it's the
but
smell of stinky
but it's
sweat.
not.
But yeah, so a lot of people can't smell that. So you can have that compound. Like, you think your son's room smells like dirty gym socks, he can just use his jeans as an excuse that he can't smell it. But that's like another example is violets, which a lot of somms, if you smell the scent of violet in certain red wines, it kind of gives you an indication of the region. But that compound beta ionone, a third of people are blind to. So
Full third.
and yeah, if you know like an aviation cocktail, like the violet liqueur in it, like people will think that just tastes like a cold martini. Like it doesn't taste like that floral anything to them because They're just genetically can't smell that. And yeah, you can live totally happily not smelling violets. But
Is that like the cilantro thing?
the cilantro thing's a little harder just to scientifically prove, because to prove you're blind to violets, like when they're testing this in the lab, they can just fill the room with beta iodine. And if you're like, has the test started yet? Like, you know that you're blind to it. With cilantro, when you're like, what does this taste like? Or, you know, people are like, they think in their head, oh, I already know that I have that soapy thing. So they kind of will like self-prescribe that they don't like it or whatever.
Maybe they think that soap. No, I
tastes like cilantro.
Right. Maybe they eat their soap. I don't know. I'm not
their first ever soap was cilantro flavored. So it's a little harder because there's not that definitive, like, I can prove what you're tasting, because they are just kind of self-describing it. But we do think that it's tied, like, genetically. We as in scientists. I don't know why I just included myself in there.
I mean,
I believe you.
I would totally believe that you have a science certification amongst all of your other ones. Totally. Another part that I really, really loved that you were talking about in the book is just like, because Judith and I spend so much time in restaurants. We love restaurants. We love being in restaurants. We love eating and drinking in restaurants. I love that you were talking about the science behind just like what makes people hungry, or like what makes people thirsty, or all of these things. And you were telling that story about the lilies, which off camera, you're going to have to tell me what restaurant that is.
I know, my editor made me take it out, so.
Oh, really? You had it in there?
Yeah.
Would your editor care if you said it on here?
I feel like I'm really not supposed to say it.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
But for those of you at home who have not read the book, she was talking about how she's sitting down at the bar, and this restaurant has these lilies, flower arrangements of
Such
lilies.
a strong smell.
And you were just blown away because you're like, why would they choose this? It's so overwhelming. And much like the cologne guy in my story where I was like, I could taste it. You were like, I'm tasting these lilies. And you couldn't even, your drink was.
Yeah, like it's
was a lily drink.
Way more
It was a lily steak.
Exactly.
That was grass.
I mean, those are really, I mean.
Yeah.
I think maybe everyone doesn't think that way. Mind blown. But like they're so stinky.
No, and yeah, one of the women that I like know professionally, she does floral arrangements for like the Grammys and like huge events and things like that. And she's like, that's the one flower that we will never use because like it will literally give people a headache. It smells so strong. So she's like, I can't believe this restaurant like uses them in the dining room, like among people who should be enjoying their drinks.
Did you ever inquire to like the GM or whatever? Like, what's up with the lilies?
No, I just paid for my $24 cocktail and was like, I'm out. But no, I did like look into it scientifically, and there is I forget exactly the name of the compounds now, but it kind of like calms you and actually makes you more willing to spend. Linalool. In some flowers. Yeah. And it makes you a little more willing to like open your wallet, makes you a little more zen.
Cocktail?
Yeah, and they actually say places like retail stores that smell that way, people are likely to spend more because you're a little more calm.
I get a retail store, but not like a restaurant.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of studies of that in restaurants yet. Who knows? Since COVID, a lot of more like sensory scientists are getting more funding.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely linalool. Actually, they use it like in PTSD situations. It's very calming, very relaxing, kind of puts you in a positive mindset. It's in lavender as well. So if you're ever, have heard that lavender kind of calms you, zens you out.
Yeah.
Same thing in the lilies. So I'm like, maybe they were trying to dose you with some linalool.
That's so weird. And like, tell us about the other like visual cues. You're talking about like paint on the walls. You even said that we tend to like what we're eating more when we like what is playing or what we're hearing. So like, talk about that, because I found that fascinating. Like, obviously, if I'm like jamming out to some music that I'm into, I'm like, oh yeah, this tastes great. I mean, not always, but I can see the correlation. So I don't know. Talk about that.
Yeah. So the like signal of taste travels from the back of your tongue on a nerve called the chorda tympani that actually goes through your inner ear before it goes to your brain. So
You're such a scientist.
Yeah, it's being jostled by whatever you're listening to. So if it's a new food, like an unfamiliar food, things with big like bass lines, especially hip hop, like again and again in the lab has been proven that people don't like it. They feel like they don't ever want to have that food again.
Really?
I love it. I love when a restaurant bumps hip hop.
I know. That's why I was talking about Crown Shy, because I love their playlist. And I'm like, how could that be? But they kind of play on familiar flavors. They just put a little twist to. So that maybe is like not that unfamiliar food in a new baseline situation. But like jazz and classical music with those like long drawn out notes, people, even if they have had the food before, will rate it more highly and stuff in that auditory situation. So there's a lot of restaurant consultants who kind of mix and match familiar songs that you know that they think people will know, and they say like 1 in every 4 songs should be a recognizable song. The other songs are kind of these like long drawn out tunes that are very pleasant, but it wouldn't distract you from your meal to say like, oh, I recognize this.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So you're being tricked all the time. We're
All
always
the
telling
time. All the time.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, what color is supposed to like make you hungry or something? Because that's the thing too.
yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, and definitely it's really interesting. So they do a lot of paint color studies. And the one, if you were going to guess what color made coffee the most delicious, just think about like when you think of a color that's like a brand associated with coffee, what color would you pick that tested well in the lab and makes coffee more complex and more interesting?
Red.
See, I was going to say the same thing, but I
Okay.
think that ties to Twin Peaks and like Fine Cup
Okay.
of Coffee kind of thing.
So think of like maybe the 2 or 3 most popular brands of coffee. What color is their logo or coffee shop?
Well, I read your book, so
Oh, okay.
Green.
Yeah. Yeah. So like Green Mountain Coffee, Starbucks, all of these, this
Yeah,
study
Starbucks
comes
logo is
up
green.
and yeah, it makes you think it's a little more complex, a little more earthy, which in a context of ice cream, you wouldn't want the walls to be green. But with coffee, that's exactly what you're looking for, is making it seem a little more expensive maybe than it is,
Or just
more
being
complexity.
tricked by visual cues.
Yeah, and it's so
constantly.
funny because every time I would find out one of these studies and, talk to the scientists, then you look at the brands and it's like, oh yeah, corporate America already knows. They already saw
They
the green coffee
do.
study. Like it's, yeah, so.
Oh my god.
But yeah, and the same thing if you like held a picture in your head right now of just like a cup with pink liquid and a cup with yellow liquid, what cup would you think would be sweeter?
Pink.
Yeah, of course. Your
Yeah.
mind just goes there.
Right, but and you don't even know what's in those cups, but we just as humans.
Right. It's not necessarily rational. It's just
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like a lot of scoop shops for ice cream will be painted pink, or like dessert places. And it's really funny. Ben and Jerry's, this is in the book, so bonus
yeah.
content.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Look at us.
They have like this logo they use everywhere, right? It's blue and green. It kind of indicates cold and freshness. Like if you can picture a Ben and Jerry's pint, right?
Sure.
There's
Judith
only-
and I lived off of fish food in college.
Oh my god, so
The
good.
best. Or Cherry Garcia. That's
Oh,
my other
I
one.
do love a cherry Garcia.
Um,
as well.
Anti it, but that's in a conversation for another day.
There's one place they use this logo that's just this big scoop of like strawberry ice cream on a cone, and it's only in their scoop shops. So like if you went to like, I don't know, the beach and there's a Ben and Jerry's like shop in person, they use this big pink ice cream cone logo that says Ben and Jerry's. The walls inside are all pink. It's like very pink forward, and that's the only place in the brand that they use it is like in these in-person shops. Nowhere else they use these.
Because
Like,
they know.
yeah, they're like, we want your little samples of ice cream to be like the most delicious, sweetest ice cream
I
you've
can
ever tasted.
smell Ben and Jerry's as we're talking about. Like I can smell walking into a shop.
Yeah, and you get
the
that like
cones
waffle
being
cone.
made.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Exactly. But that's what like when you're paying attention to flavor, you get those memories that are like so much more rich than, a life where you're just shoveling ice cream into your mouth and going to bed.
Sense memory.
That's so cool.
Dembski as an actor.
Well, yeah, and she talks about that too.
Yeah.
You talk about how how eating and it all comes back to is like memories that we have. So that's why tasting something can be so specific from one person to the next because of memories
Yeah.
and things that have shaped us.
Right. Well, and it's like a little bit of that DNA that we were talking about, right? Like
Yeah.
there's some things
Right.
you're just never going to taste because you were born that way. Never. Or you taste them very strongly. And then also, yeah, the culture that you grew up in. So if you think of cinnamon, you two, like, do you think if it's more of a sweet context or savory?
Yeah, I think of like
Sweet.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Americans pretty much always think of it as something sweet, but many other cultures think of it as like a savory mix.
Oh, right.
you know?
Yeah, sure.
So when you walk into a room and it smells like cinnamon, people will be like, "Oh, someone's cooking dinner," but other people would say, "Oh, Christmas or baking cookies or whatever." So
I'm
it's like,
sick, and my mom made me a cup of hot milk and put cinnamon in it.
oh, is that,
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
remedy?
That
So
was
does that
the-
feel? Is that like comforting to you?
Yeah. The thought of it is comforting, and the thought of the taste. But I feel like if it were in front of me, I maybe wouldn't want it.
I never got cinnamon. My grandmother made me like a lemony hot drink.
Yeah, I was always like black tea and lemon,
Yeah.
a little honey for the cough. But yeah, see those like memories that you tap into,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. Just people who study tasting or wine for a couple weeks, they can literally see their brain change in like the span of a couple weeks. Their olfactory bulb grow, and that's where we hold a lot of emotional memories as well. It's very closely tied to that like deep emotional sense of memory.
For sure.
And so just being in touch with this, like I think it really expands us as humans. You know, like 20% of our genome is dedicated to smelling, and most people don't use it.
I'm kind of obsessed with this. I want to be like you.
Yeah, like I'm like, we're little beasts that are made to smell, and we're all ignoring it.
Right? That's so crazy. We need to pay more attention. I think on that note, we should taste something.
I'm ready.
All right, so I have a bottle that our lovely producer, Candace, is going to pour, and we're also going to drink, so yay!
Oh, I see what's happening.
I love that we're pouring though, because
Okay.
I love a little fizz on top, whatever this is.
Well, you said something with bubbles.
Yes, I love
And
all
so went to favorite little East Village neighborhood wine shop, ABC Wine Co. Shout out to them.
Love ABC Wine Co. Thank you.
And they suggested this. So may I see that bottle?
Bubbles are like little flavor spaceships. They're just carrying
Oh my God, flavor spaceships.
That's a great name for a band.
There you go.
Hello, New York. We're the flavor spaceships.
What do we have, Jude?
Claro que sí.
It's called claro
Oh, my
que
dad
sí.
says that all the time.
Really?
Claro que sí.
It means like, of course, right?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Of course, yes. Yeah, of course.
Clearly,
Sure.
yeah.
Clearly, yeah.
Of course we're going to drink it.
Seneca Lake, New York.
All right,
Oh.
local.
Sparkling wine.
Interesting color for sparkling wine.
All right,
Throw it
and
out
there's
there.
clearly some sediment in it,
Yeah.
so it looks like
Yeah.
we've got a natural situation. So why don't you take us through, you outline this in your book, why don't you take us through this 7?
Yeah.
Okay, the 7 steps of tasting?
We'll do an abridged version.
All
'cause
right.
just the sniffs alone. There's like 8 sniffs, but we'll do the most fun ones.
Many
Okay, you know,
sniffs.
we
I
only
got
want the fun
sniffed.
one. Yeah,
So much
that was
sniffing.
that was an unfun sniff. Unfun sniff. That's the name of Flavor Spaceship's first album.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Unfun sniff.
Unfun.
Unfun sniff by
reclaiming
Flavor
sniffs.
Spaceship.
Yeah.
Reclaiming the sniff is what we're gonna do.
I reclaim
It's
my
our
sniff.
it's our first single. All right, sorry.
All right.
Continue.
The first step is setting, which we kind of talked about. So just kind of taking in what's around you. So what's affecting our tasting right now? It could be these bright lights, you know, not a natural situation to taste a lot. We're lucky that it's quiet. Nothing's jostling our chorda tympani. We're going to get really, really great
That's
tasting.
sexy when you say it, Mandy.
So that was setting. Now we're going to go to C, which like I said, we're looking here. So for a sparkling wine, quite cloudy. It's what you might
Yeah.
expect.
It
Right,
looks
it
like
looks
a
like
beer.
Yeah. It's giving like, apricot colored or something. I don't know. I'm like already thinking it's fruity just by looking at it.
Okay,
So we're going to
sure.
skip from C though, because you don't want to get too distracted by the visuals. Right?
Okay.
We're not judging this, luckily, so that's fine.
Oh, and we're drinking out of these really fancy plastic.
Right.
But you dudes, yes.
I love a plastic cup to taste out of, actually.
Because-
as long as you recycle.
Absolutely. But you were saying in judging the beer competition, they taste out of plastic.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder plastic than this, but one issue can come with like judging. Just like a micro scratch in a glass can get kind of bacteria and smelly things in there. And then
So crazy.
imagine having like your very special sample that you mailed in to be judged at the Great American Beer Awards, and it's like it has
And
like
sticky
dishwasher
glass.
stank on it. You know that kind of. So plastic,
So lucky
all
us.
about
Okay.
it. But yeah, so 80% of what we consider flavor is actually coming from our olfactory bulb, which is like this little bulb behind your eyes.
Okay.
So basically, when you're sniffing, you're going to try to hit it every which way. So one way is just like your olfact, just from the front. But you're going to do like little short 1 second sniffs. Like,
From the front. Hit it from the front.
yeah, hitting it from the front.
Okay.
You don't want to dry out your mucus. It's very important to tasting.
Right? We need
Oh.
mucus.
Yeah, the mucus has odor binding proteins in it. Yum, 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 yum.
Mm,
And without those
mucus.
proteins, you can't bind the odors to your brain. You just can't smell anything. So like if you're
Oh,
ever
like if
really
you're too dry, you can't smell anything.
Crazy.
Exactly.
Crazy.
So now we're going to smell from the back. We're going to hit it from
We're
the
gonna
back.
hit it from the
Okay,
back. All right. How do we? How do
That's
they
my
smell from the
favorite
back?
way.
So there is a
Wow.
it's mine too.
Okay,
Everyone's gonna be hitting it from the back smell wise.
All right. Tell us how.
There's a path up the back of your throat to that same olfactory bulb. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pinch our nose to close the
Okay.
front.
Okay.
We'll take a sip, swish it over your palate, and then as you swallow, keep your lips closed and exhale out your nose.
That's a lot of
Okay.
steps.
All right, all right, all
Ready? We're gonna
Okay.
pinch.
Okay.
We're gonna
Pinch.
breathe.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna sip.
Uh-huh.
You'll swish. Keep your lips closed and swallow as you exhale. Out. Keep those lips closed. Oh, cheater. It is not good for podcasting keeping your lips closed, is it? But you should notice a sensation of flavor like filling your mouth.
Do
I'm
it
gonna try
again.
it again.
Do it
Yeah.
again.
And so what this is, it's kind of like playing the piano of your olfactory bulb, the scale of the piano backward. So it can kind of like when you're judging, kind of make you recognize new notes, right? From the front, This is like quite fruity to me. Up my nose. Tasty.
That's a different way.
And then going up the back, you might get something like a little, let's try.
It is a different kind of thing.
It's a total.
It's kind of like,
totally
if you
different.
think of like playing musical scales up and then down.
Holy
I always think
Lord.
it's like the other way of your musical scale.
I just learned a new way to sniff.
Right, you've lived your whole life.
My whole life. We just sniffed it
We're in our
backwards.
60s and we just figured this out.
I like it from the back.
Oh my
It's still her favorite way. Here we go.
It's still the reigning champion.
So yeah, if you've been enjoying something for a couple minutes and like liking it, I always am just like, just try a little quick nose plug.
We're
no
gonna
one's
be those
gonna
people
judge
at the
you.
restaurant now.
No,
that are
seriously.
just
And then if
Hi,
someone
my
asks
name's
you,
Judith.
like,
Can I tell you how to sniff this?
Yeah.
right. And then what else?
So I just did my first little taste. We get
Oh,
to
so
sip,
just
sip sample now.
So sip sample.
Because this is carbonated, you want to give it a taste before we do too much swirling, so we don't want to swirl out all of our carbonation.
Right.
And a fun thing about that first taste, we call it the match taste. Because a lot of things that are very flavor forward, those 5 basic tastes, sweetness, sourness, bitterness, umami, and salt, they don't actually have an aroma. So like sucrose, table sugar, smells like nothing. This could
Right.
be packed with sucrose, so you'd have never smelled it.
Never smelled
You were
it.
so smart.
Quinine, bitter, can't
Can't
smell it.
smell it.
Citric acid, unless it's like so high it will burn your stomach off, can't smell it. So it's like all of those things. Your first taste, you're really just seeing what are those 5 basic tastes. Everything else is aroma. So what'd you think? Did it match what you thought it would taste like?
I think that you put the apricot thing in my head, and I'm like, I think I actually taste that.
I think it
though.
tastes apricot-y
It
too.
really
Yeah,
does.
Yeah.
There's some like crisp kind of apple situation going on.
Yeah, there's a little like barnyard toward the end, a little like hay thing.
Hey. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
A
sorry.
little more acid maybe than you would expect, especially like a classic sparkling wine. This is definitely, it's giving natural.
It's
Yeah.
giving natural.
Yeah.
It very much is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's our sip sample. Does everyone have a little headspace now? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, again, podcast listeners, we'll talk you through what it looks like. But we're going to do what, the swirl sniff or the covered
Oh, they
sniff?
can see us too. The people who decide to actually watch can watch us.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to create a seal with your hand on the top of the glass.
Okay.
And as I chat, we'll just swirl here. And
Okay.
what you're doing is filling your headspace of your glass with all those olfactory compounds I was talking about.
Okay. Oh shit.
So it's okay if your hand gets a little damp. We'll live.
You can lick it up.
So what you're going to do now is align your hand with your nose. And then
Okay.
we'll do 3 short sniffs when you lift your hand.
Okay.
So go.
Oh.
Do you get like way more flavor?
Yes!
Yeah. Wow.
This is so
I love
enlightening.
a whoa.
But yeah, so it's all like kind of concentrating under your hand. So if you're getting used to a wine or wanting to like blind taste something or know it for the future, that's like
Gotta
a really
rev it
nice
up.
way to get a nice potent.
Dude, seriously, I feel like I've been doing it all wrong.
You've been.
And I have some certifications in some like sake and wine stuff and like
Yeah, that's how we met, was tasting sake.
at the sake
Yeah.
bar. So true.
I made her geek out with me.
Oh my
this
gosh.
chick is so rad.
I can only imagine.
I think were we drinking that aged sake, the Tamagawa?
We had that, and then
Yeah.
you had my first room temperature sake.
Oh, do you remember what it was?
I remember what it looked like. I actually showed someone at a wine store a picture of it, and they helped me get it because it has this face on it. I'll have to show you it. After
I'm
this. I have
curious.
a picture of you
Yeah.
holding it.
Oh my
I had
God.
to pull it up. I was like this.
I want to
And
see.
he's
I'm
like, it
curious
was
as
a
to
big
which one it
giant
was.
magnum. He's like, I don't have one that size.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
That is so cool.
Um,
Judith, what do you smell? What do you get?
yeah, and no pressure because depending on your genes and your experience, we're all going to taste this a
Everyone
little
tastes
differently.
different things.
That was
there's
my hard
something.
thing.
There's something. I can't. I don't know the word for it. It's like. It's not a sweet flavor. It's like a warm flavor.
A warm. I love that you just
Mhm.
described the flavor as warm.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like
It's
a.
like cidery almost.
That's yes. I get a
Mhm.
lot of like
that like
apple cider.
warming, yeah,
Mhm.
totally mulling spices kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you handed this to me and said it was a cider, I probably would not argue with you.
Yeah, I could see that totally.
But you're like a master cider taster.
No, I'm not. The masters are
Oh.
sommeliers.
Oh,
Sommelier.
like apple. Oh yeah, like
yeah,
apple.
I'm just a simple certified cider professional.
Oh my,
Okay.
simple certified.
Just
Dear
a humble. Don't let me claim to be a sommelier over here.
They'll come for you.
That's
So yeah,
crazy.
we did our swirl. We're almost to the end.
Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Yes, I love
Okay,
this.
there are
So the
more?
next one we don't have to worry about because it's deciding if you're going to spit or swallow, which we don't have enough here
We're
to
all
spit.
swallowers here, aren't we?
But I wanted to call it out in the book because I think people are embarrassed to spit sometimes.
Yeah.
And we don't want you getting too drunk if you're doing a tequila tasting.
I'll get too drunk. I don't give a fuck. Let's go.
The last five
coffee
tequilas
drinkers.
were the most tequila.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, number 5 was my best one. Or like coffee tasters will just get like buzzing. They'll be so caffeinated once they.
Oh, I'm sure.
Let them spit. Don't be embarrassed by it. There's some great spitting techniques in the book.
This is such an enlightening podcast. I'm also getting redder. Like my laser skin is getting hotter and redder. All right, so what's next?
And then the last one is what we've kind of already been doing is I call it sit and synthesize, which is really the reason I wrote the whole book. Just like take a second to pay attention to what you're tasting, whether it's you're talking to someone about it, you're trying to connect it to a past memory. We're saying warming, we're connecting to cidery, like that's kind of all, we're just synthesizing together and kind of really getting this memory in our brain. So the next time you smell cider, you're going to remember being in the small studio.
Podcast, talking about hitting it from the back.
And spitting techniques.
This is
You know what?
so
No one
hot.
should let us out of the house.
I have a boner. I am so turned on right
Yeah. And all of it and how to taste.
now. Guys didn't know what you're getting into. Okay, so we're going to sit and synthesize.
Right. And that's also just, they're all 7 S's. I had to make it cute.
Yeah.
I can remember.
I'm
I
into
love
it.
some good alliteration. That's for real. Okay, well, now that I'm getting drunker, this is making me happy. What else? What have we not touched on so far? Because this book is like so full of stuff.
Yeah.
And I
You know what I've been thinking about, Zemsky? I've been
Tell me.
thinking about memory and situation.
okay.
So specifically, you and I went to Greece together, right?
fun.
And we had like the most incredible olive oil we've ever had in our lives. Oh my
We did. We lost our
God.
shit.
We were like
In this little
peeing our
Airbnb that was
pants.
local.
Right? And I brought home like 17 olives oil from that trip.
Yeah.
So many
And
olives
at
oils.
home in my apartment in Brooklyn, none of them tasted even remotely as delicious as that. And is it because they weren't as good, or was it because we weren't on Milos on the with the
Right.
cats and the breeze and the
And the octopi hanging off.
I mean, so like the experience had so much to do with what we were tasting.
Right. And that's the setting step of the tasting method. I always say when people do something like that, like a vacation, and they went to the best winery of their life. I'm like, for your souvenir, for your bring something home that you never tasted there. So a wine that you actually didn't have.
Right.
Oh,
Because you can kind of
yeah.
look forward
did
to it
say
when you
that.
get
I think
home
that's
as
great.
something new, but you're not comparing it to that exact experience because
Right.
you're never.
That mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Right.
Even like the
thing.
brine of the Grecian Ocean in your nose is going to change how you think of that olive oil, and it's never going to live up to that
Never.
perfect moment.
Never.
That's so true.
Also, it oxidizes so quickly, olive oil. So like if you're letting oxygen in there and letting it get hot,
I guess
little
we're just
plane
going to have to
ride?
go back
we're going to have to go back
Yeah.
to Greece.
Yeah, for that olive oil. Sorry.
No, I talked to a couple of olive oil sommeliers in the book.
Oh.
And, they're very passionate about never let it get hot. Never. Yeah. So,
course.
and they're like, one
And
of
the
them's like, you
pressure
can't let it on
in
the
the
plane.
yeah.
She's like, it's too dry.
That's
it's
a
what
really
too,
good
yeah.
point.
Yeah. So,
You have to put it in a rowboat and row it across the ocean.
or get it stuck in the what was the like I can't think when that like big freight boat got stuck for a while. And I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Or just, I don't know. Yeah, I got nothing.
Grow your own olive trees.
Grow your own.
I'm
Yeah.
buzzed.
That will be so delicious because you'll be like, it's so special to me. These olives.
Yeah.
My own
I've been
olive oil.
tending to this olive tree.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how you guys still have stuff left, but I'm gonna keep drinking. Let's talk about super tasters.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what a super taster is. You are a super taster.
Yes, but I should say it's not a superpower or anything that makes you a better taster at
I
all.
was gonna say, do you wear a cape?
It's just a genetic marker.
Okay.
So I actually talked to the woman who coined the term super taster in the book, and she's like, I wish I would have named it anything else. Because really all it means is you taste bitterness super intensely, or you have a couple more taste buds than other people. So even like spiciness is more intense. It's more like intense taster. So actually a lot of super tasters are very picky eaters. Because when
they
you're
taste
young,
it
Oh, yeah, 'cause
more.
it's like overwhelming sometimes.
and it can be like painful. So especially when you're young and you're kind of exploring new foods,
Right.
you're like, this hurts my tongue. I will never eat it again, and you avoid it for your whole life. Whereas non-tasters who don't have this gene for tasting some of these bitter and more intense compounds are really adventurous eaters. A lot of like younger chefs tend to be non-tasters because they're down for anything. Throw it on there.
It's kind of crazy. It kind of goes against what you would think,
Like,
right?
I'm a super taster, which means that I like things better. But
Right.
no,
No.
you just experience them more.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
and differently. And so you may not want to eat all the things that people with less taste buds want to eat.
right.
And so there's a test you can do for this, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's just seeing if you can taste the compounds. So.
And I
Super taster
believe
test.
that we have the strips here.
No.
Judith,
Dun, dun, dun.
we are going to find out if you or I have these
my
extra.
Gird.
We're going to do the test. But thank you, Candace.
I just did this last night with like 30 people at the Ace Hotel at a book event.
So walk us through this because
Okay,
Right.
so this is a tube full of little papers.
yes, and they're just
Okay.
filter paper with this one compound on them. I'll let you know if you can. Yeah, we'll do it. I'll narrate.
oh
as we go.
shit. Oops.
So what you're gonna do is like stick out your tongue.
Okay.
Candace, do you want to join us? Yeah. Give her one.
Yeah, it is like 1 in 4 people are a super taster and 1 in 4 are a non-taster. So we'll see. What if we were like perfectly matched up? That would be so fun.
Okay,
Cute.
so
Okay.
basically,
Yep.
take us through it because if we are super tasters, we're gonna immediately be like, get this fucking thing out of my mouth.
Oh no! Don't tell your no, because now you're gonna.
Okay, sorry, I'm just over here drunk.
No, I'll watch. I'll watch
Okay,
your
okay,
faces.
okay.
So Candace, you gotta look at me.
So what
I'm
do we do?
kidding.
We just put.
You're gonna stick your tongue out, and if you imagine like the seam of your tongue, like the center of your tongue, put this strip right down the center of your tongue.
So this way.
Yep,
Okay.
directly, and then put it. Yeah, let it your saliva soak it. Close your mouth. Maybe her. Maybe Candace. Oh, okay. We're getting. Yeah. Okay, you can take it off now.
Oh,
Okay, so she's give. Yeah, this is super taster. You can drink something. Carbonation actually helps if it's painful.
I'm getting mild. Not
Are you
like
sure
them.
you're getting any bitterness at all? You're just thinking.
It's
phantom?
like an aspirin.
An aspirin. That's like intense.
This is not intense.
Okay,
no, that's exactly like if
like
you
uncoated
like
aspirin.
you,
is what, yeah.
uncoated aspirin. Like
Yeah.
if you
It's
chewed
not
on
like
it.
I can handle it. It's
Yeah.
not, but it's there.
Yeah,
But you had a very strong, and
you
you had a
both. Yeah,
And I feel like I swallowed it or something.
yeah. And if you feel like you can still feel it
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah, yeah.
that's definitely a good indicator of super taster status. Or
So am I like not a super taster, but I still notice it, or is it like only people who notice it at all? Like, what is that?
so. I'm curious.
put it back
I was
on
gonna
her
say
tongue.
I'm curious.
She's
if
chewing
you
on it.
didn't know that it was supposed to taste bitter. If you would think it tasted bitter.
There's definitely bitter. I mean,
Okay.
as a chef, I'm pretty tuned into.
Yeah.
I would like to think that I am, but apparently I'm not
Yeah,
a super
but
taster.
But that's
yeah,
why you're an adventurous, fun chef. If you're a non-taste, so I would say
it's so mild for me. Like,
Yeah.
so absolutely mild.
that's going between maybe taster and non-taster somewhere. So you could definitely get your genes tested to be for sure. But yeah, I would say honestly,
It's
your
not-
reaction, I would say you're probably a non-taster.
Okay, yeah, because it's not bothering me at
Yeah.
all. It's like, oh, it's bitter,
Yeah,
but I'm not bothered.
Right.
Whereas you two were like,
yeah.
At first, I was like, "Oh, it's bitter," and then it like exploded in the back of my.
It's like
throat.
as it's
Candace. Candace
is
is shaking her head. She's like, yeah, it, like she
Yeah.
wanted to vomit.
Yeah,
yeah.
All right,
it's like
well,
as
you
the
bitches
saliva-
are super tasters.
but that doesn't mean that it means more tasting. Everything I know is a lie.
more intense. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, are you someone who reacts a lot to spiciness?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, she's always has not been able to tolerate her spice like me, but maybe it's just because my taste buds are duller or whatever.
Well, no, it's
and-
not dull. See,
it's
this
not
is the thing.
duller,
It's not
it's
a superpower.
different.
Yeah, it's different. It's just like the intensity. So
Okay.
Candace, how do you react to spicy food? I love spicy. She loves spicy.
but you can like it and still notice the sensation of spicy. Yeah.
So you're not
So, but also
turned off by it.
More you get used to spice, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more you eat it, the more you quote unquote tolerate it.
yeah.
So maybe
So,
no.
no, is that not a thing?
Is that a
You
an
can-
old
are you
wives'
making this
tale?
up?
if you're like very young and like culturally
Okay.
exposed to
Yeah.
it, but like it's not.
guess
something
that's
that
what
you,
I mean. Like, if
build
it's a cult-
tolerance to, like people kind of think it's like if you're very young and you have a chili and your mom is smiling at you and saying, yes, you're like, oh yes, I love this. But if you're very young and they're like, oh, is that too spicy? Do you like
Right.
it? Then you're kind of it's kind of like a background
Right,
thing
right,
as
right.
you're being exposed to them.
It's like I've always been able to tolerate it.
Yeah.
Everything I know is wrong.
Yeah, and I kind of think because Candace had definitely an intense reaction, but not quite as intense as you. And I think also liking spice, it could be that because you can
I can
also
still
be a
feel it on
taster.
my tongue.
Yeah, like
I got nothing right
like
now.
people who are
nothing.
super tasters will sometimes rate that as like on the scale of 1 to 100 of pain. They'll say like 90. Like they're like it's painful. It's like hurting me. They're also maybe babies, but.
Well,
I always am like, it depends how
interesting.
dramatic you are too, because like sometimes people will be like, they'll like throw it, they'll be like, oh my god, I'm dying, and I'm like, I know it doesn't hurt that bad.
Well, if anyone wants to come over to my house and figure out if you're a super taster, I've got like 100 of these strips.
Wait to test my husband.
Yeah,
you have
to.
We're gonna test
so
all of our
excited.
friends now.
You have to just give it to them and say,
And
tell
not
me what
say
you think
anything.
I'm sorry, I
just
kind
put
of
this on your
ruined it.
tongue and tell me like what you think.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I know. Guys, I've got plenty of
Or
these
like
strips.
executive chef at work.
Ooh.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's just PTC.
I'll just tell him it's
sprayed on a
acid.
strip.
Waka waka.
Right. You're going to get super high.
I know that was like I've done a bunch of book events where we do that. People will be like, I'm always told not to put something on my tongue that
Don't
I
eat
don't
the
know.
brown acid.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, great joke, guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it falls out to about a quarter of people are super tasters, a quarter are tasters, and a quarter, or sorry, 2 quarters are tasters, and a quarter are non-tasters.
So crazy. I always thought I had a really good palate.
But it's not good.
I know. It's not. I know.
And
I'm looking at it the wrong way.
You're probably exposed to a lot more tastes and flavors because when your mom or whoever asked you want to try this, you'd be like, yeah, sure.
Well, as a child, I thought I was
Yeah.
really picky.
Oh, interesting.
I
was so
didn't
picky.
like anything. But what I realize now is I just didn't want to eat McDonald's and like shitty food. I was the child at Olive Garden that wanted the veal marsala because I didn't want to eat chicken fingers or like plain spaghetti with olive oil.
Right, and
like
that's
I
'cause
wanted
flavors aren't-
flavor.
Yeah, exactly. And you need that more intense flavor if your palate isn't as sensitive in intensity.
There we go. It's all making
I'm sure
sense.
people say your food is like so well seasoned and so flavorful because
Dude, I'm always saying things need
Yep.
salt.
Yep.
All the time.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Guys.
All right, we were talking about Ben and Jerry's. Isn't there a old wives' tale about one of them can't smell, one of them can't taste, and that's why the ice cream tastes? Have you heard this? Am I making this up? Right.
Tale, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm not here to certify old
No,
wives' tale.
I mean, I'm gonna Google it later some more because now I'm
Yeah.
fascinated.
Yeah, I've heard that one of them is like anosmic, but I think it's hard because if you're truly anosmic, like if I said, is this an orange or, I don't know, a burrito, you'd be like, I don't know. Like you really can't smell anything. So
Oh my God.
I truly don't believe
That's
someone would
crazy.
go into ice cream if they truly
Yeah.
could not tell.
I can't
Like,
taste anything, so I'm gonna be in food.
Yeah, I
Right?
should be producing food for other people. I can't imagine that.
You make a very good point.
Very good point. So let's just talk about the industry in general real quick.
Yes.
What are there any trends that you're loving right now in the cocktail world or beer world or wine world? Yeah, tell me. Or anything you're hating. Like give me both.
I hate clarified cocktails.
Really?
No, that's not
like
true.
like a milk punch.
No,
not
so
your
I
jam.
love a classic milk punch, which
Okay.
exists
Okay.
for a reason. So like you used to make milk punch because the alcohols were so rough. Fermentation was not very high tech. So you were getting very high alcohols that have that burn to them. And you would milk punch it because those molecules are quite large. And the milk will pull out those molecules and really smooth everything out. Like milk punches used to be made with like brandy and Guinness. And it would come out pink and they'd be like this much smoother cocktail. And I'm like, that I think is genius. Clarifying like a brandy port. But if you're clarifying a margarita for me because you think it's cool that it's clear,
It's
then
a trend. It's definitely a trend.
then you
on
put a
menus, for
$2
sure.
clear ice cube in it and make me pay $5 for it. Basically, you just pulled all of the flavor out of the margarita and left me with like some agave notes and like a very subtle, smooth lime. Like I think it's not a bad technique. I love classic milk punches, but I think when they're like, I'm going to
used
clarify the whole
properly.
bar,
Yeah.
you're like, please don't do that to me.
So what are your favorite cocktail bars right now in New York?
Ooh.
Tell me.
I live very close to Overstory and Crown Shy, so I'm very lucky.
Let's just tell
place.
people what Overstory is. It's on the 66th floor.
Yeah, I
of
think it beats Manhattan by like 2 floors. Or
Yeah, it's in the financial district.
It got Manhattan.
It's a cocktail bar. I had a dashi martini there that was absolutely beautiful. So talk about like a savory cocktail. It was gorgeous.
But
Um,
would they taste as good if they weren't in such a beautiful spot?
see, who knows? Because you've got the view.
Because it's a beautiful spot.
but you are paying like $25 to $30.
and you feel fancy. You're like, I'm
Yeah.
fancy. These are fancy cocktails. I'm in a
Right.
fancy
Yeah.
joint.
fancy joint.
I don't trust
having a
anything
rendezvous.
anymore.
Yeah. No, exactly. But then you're like, also like, I'm paying $25
Right.
partially
It's gotta
for the
be
view.
good.
So, because then my other favorite bar, not a cocktail bar, but I live very close to Fish Market as well. I don't know if you guys have ever been there.
Don't
It's
know.
like
Tell us what that is.
the best of best dive bars.
Okay.
Ooh.
Where?
So there's no handle on the door. It's in Seaport, but it's very hard to.
Oh, so you're a FIDI gal.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm kind of down in the Battery Park area, but like Battery Park's just a park. But yeah, so there's no handle on the door. It's like you have to know how to get in, and then they serve like very authentic his mom's Asian food, which is just all things that she learned to cook in her life.
I have heard about this.
Yeah,
and
she'll literally
we
come out of
need
the
to add it
kitchen.
to our list. This sounds like
She'll come
right
out of the
up
kitchen
our
and be
alley.
like, "No more food tonight. No more food tonight." Everyone, and like you're just like, "Okay." She's like, "I'm,
I'm
done."
sorry.
Take us there.
Yeah, and they serve Jameson shots whenever you want that. It's just like a great vibe, and I love, like, to your point about you're paying $25 for a cocktail, you're appreciating it more. I've met some like really cool people there where you're just like, I'm having a Shiner, the person next to me is having, you know, a Miller Lite, like, so it's very well drink, chilling, and I'm like, I just love that kind of bar.
Yeah, we
as
need
well.
highbrow and lowbrow.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
our lives.
exactly.
What about restaurants? Any favorite restaurants in New York? Because we love food.
That's such a good question. I like there's so many restaurants in New York that it's hard for me to like go
Yeah.
back.
So
I
hard.
love Pig and Cow. Have you guys been there?
Oh yeah,
We
that's
live
that's like
2 blocks away
Yeah,
from
we do.
there.
Judith and I live 400 feet away from each other.
We do.
Probably gonna get sick.
Okay,
of
well
me
that
saying this
neighborhood
podcast.
is like the most.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
63 Clinton is there too. It's not like I can go there. Very
yes,
often.
we
Love it
love
there.
Samuel and Ray. Those guys
Oh
are
my
awesome.
gosh, I loved Uchu before. Or wait, not Uchu. What was it called? Yeah, Uchu.
I didn't live
was
here
their
before
old.
that, so I'm not a real New
Um,
Yorker.
And then Keo. Do you guys know Keo in Tribeca? It's
No.
Laotian food.
Ooh.
Love it there too. But yeah, I always
Keo.
enjoy
Also,
trying
Dom
new
in the
stuff.
East Village is Laotian, and I just interviewed that
Yes.
chef. It's great.
Oh yeah,
Very affordable. Such a great community space. If you haven't been, hit up Dom.
yeah. I've heard of it. It's on my. You know, I'm sure you guys have the same thing on your Google Maps, like your
Oh,
want
God,
to
yeah.
go
Our lists
list.
are stupid.
And you
It
pull up the
gets
city.
longer.
It's like just
yeah,
all
they
green.
don't end.
Yeah.
It's just I'm like
Every time we go to one, we add 3.
it
Yeah.
gets exhausting, and I get sad that we're never gonna hit them all. Which we should have a Patreon. We do. I should shout it out. Pay us so we can go eat.
Yeah.
And now we come to the end of our podcast where we give our guest our favorite segment. Judith, what is our favorite segment called?
I don't fuck with that.
It's called I Don't Fuck With.
I don't fuck with that. Don't fuck with that.
So I want to know what you don't fuck with, Mandy. Tell me. It could
Let
be
me take a sip. Really
it could be anything having to do with food. Actually, do you want to go first or should we go first?
Zemsky, you go first.
Okay. You know, this week, the hill that I shall choose to
Yes,
die on
this one.
is I'm going to just talk about a food that I don't like, and it may come as a surprise, and it may seem very un-American, but I fucking don't fuck with hot dogs. Like an American hot dog.
choked. My
Nope.
favorite.
And we're talking about spitting and swallowing and dicks and all the things, and I don't like a hot dog. Actually, I was going to say that's the only food I don't like. There are 2 foods I
Okay,
don't like.
okay. Wait, what's the other? I mean, I've heard the hot dog before.
The
Love a
other
hot
food
dog.
is a banana, so is it weird that they're both shaped?
They are.
They're phallic? How does
Maybe
that-
you don't. Oh my
I hate
god.
I hate raw bananas. I like them cooked, but god damn it, you cannot get me to eat a fucking hot dog. I like chorizo. I like a
dogs are so
broad.
delicious.
Not
Hot
gonna eat a
dogs
hot
are
dog.
so delicious.
I don't fuck with it.
But it
Uh-uh.
has to have all the stuff on it. It has to have the works.
I
on
don't.
It.
I don't want anything on it. I don't want it in my mouth. Judith, what do you not fuck with? Oh
I don't fuck with people who don't fuck with hot dogs.
my god. I guess we're not best friends.
disproven, I
Podcast is
think.
over.
I mean, I guess that's the end.
Our tenure is over.
Yeah. How
Since
long
we
has
were
it been?
18. We're done.
So like 3 years? It's over.
We're only 21.
I was gonna say, I hope you're of age if we're drinking this wine together.
Seriously. What do you not fuck with, Mandy?
I will say natural wine is very, very low.
After
we
we just tasted
served
the
her natural
wine.
But
wine.
as you can see, I will still drink it. But yeah,
Wow, I'm
there's
so
a compound.
sorry.
or
Wait,
there's
wait,
a wild
Zemsky.
yeast. Yes.
Pigs in a blanket? Like an
No.
hors d'oeuvre? No.
No.
Okay,
I can't do it.
All right,
sorry.
I'm
All right, so natural wine. So glad we cleared that up.
no,
there.
seriously, I really had to know
No.
it big
the
and
puff
little.
pastry doesn't make it better.
Oh my God.
It just doesn't.
Such a weirdo.
All right, natural wine, you don't fuck with it. There's a compound, is what you said. Let's talk about this compound to end.
Ooh.
Yeah, so natural wine is natural because it's, using the yeast that is on the grapes naturally, and then no commercial yeast is pitched with it. But there's a wild yeast called Brettanomyces, another good word.
Brettanomyces.
That has like always been a flaw in the wine world. So when you're getting trained as a taster, if you taste Brettanomyces, you know this is flawed. You know, it was improperly fermented, bad cleaning practices. So I like was so taught that kind of smell, which if we're being polite, we say is barnyard or goaty. But if we're being honest, we say a little bit poopy.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
Which I don't get in this.
No, not
The hay. You said the hay.
yeah.
but
You
I don't
like
get
a little
poopy.
goatiness.
I don't
to
get any
me,
poo.
a little
Goaty.
of that like kind of waxy caprylic thing. But yeah, so that's always been a flaw to me. Like my brain lights up and it's like flaw. And I it's hard for me to believe that everyone loves natural wine as much as they say they do. I mean, this is a good
trend,
example,
right?
It's
Yeah,
trendy,
Yeah.
right.
There's
It's
like
natural.
anything. There's good, there's bad, but
Right.
it's definitely having a strong moment.
Right. And I think people will just order, like I went to Noble Rot. Do you know that bar in Paris? Or in London, sorry.
No,
Heard
but
of it.
Candace was just in London, our producer.
Yeah.
She did not go
And
there.
they
She's
curate
shaking her
really
head.
lovely natural wines. And I had a couple. And yeah, there's some that don't have that Brett thing so strong. But yeah, it's hard for me. I think a lot of people will order a natural wine and say they love it just because they know it's a natural wine. And I
Or
think-
because it's chic.
yeah,
Yeah.
Or they think
exactly.
it's chic. But I get it because sometimes I drink an orange wine and I'm like, this tastes like cider. Like
Well, and it will like those tannins sometimes in an orange wine will just like rip your tongue off, and
Yeah.
then it's a little bit sour, and you're like, why? And I'm just like, I don't believe that you like. It.
Tastes off.
Yeah, but you know, to each their own. This one's pretty tasty.
All
I
right.
didn't finish
I'm
my
glad
glass.
that you don't hate it. All right, last question. We don't want to end on a negative note. We want you to show some love. So what, food-wise or cocktail-wise, in the last week, what is the best thing you've put in your mouth?
Ooh, the best. I went to see the Broadway show Spam-A-Lot.
Okay.
And right before that, we went to the Rum House, kind of new up there near Times Square-ish area.
Okay.
And I had just like a happy hour daiquiri, which is $10 cocktail is always going to make
I
me so happy.
Love a traditional
A classic daiquiri, well balanced for $10. I'm like, I'm in
New
Times
York?
Square,
What?
in
In
Times
this
Square,
economy?
in Times Square before a Broadway show. I was like,
Right?
I'm in heaven.
A pre-show
Yeah.
drink for $10?
That's what I'm saying. I was like,
You can find us there getting wasted.
saving it on the Google map. I was like, we'll be back. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I'm not buying drinks in Spam-A-Lot when they're like
No.
$16 for a glass of
No,
wine.
what are
It's
we,
like,
rich
yeah.
people?
Exactly.
All right. Well, shout out to the Rum House. Mandy,
Classic daiquiris.
how can people get in touch with you or find you or follow you? Shout out your socials. What's the deal? Or get
Yeah.
your book
Oh, yeah,
that we've now covered in
move
10
our-
strips.
Yeah.
There
This
we
book
go.
is fascinating.
It really is.
howtotastebook.com, but it's everywhere. Amazon, your local bookstore, wherever you feel like buying it. All for. And then I'm Drinks with Mandy most places on social media. So
She's a motherfucking professional.
yeah, but yeah,
She's
if you're
got a
around,
certificate.
I'll be
Framed.
I have many. I don't frame them. They're like all just
So
like
many
What?
folded.
I'm
certificates.
buying you frames for Christmas.
I need
She's
an
using
office
a
so I can
binder.
start. Yeah, and you get all these pins too. If I wanted to, I could have so many pins
Oh,
everywhere. I
like
should
a
show up to
general.
every
Flair.
interview.
It's called
Yeah,
Flair.
with like a thing.
Where it's all my Apple, my like W set, everything. That would be.
I love it.
Oh my God. Y'all, check out the book. It's fascinating. Mandy,
Really.
thank you so much.
You guys are so
Such
fun.
a pleasure.
So fun.
But as fun as NBC, Mandy.
I would say more fun.
Oh my God, thank you. We better be. I'm definitely a little drunk now. So thanks for tuning in to Put It in Your Mouth. I'm Lala. This is Judith. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.